Trend gray is a line, it's one of the three fast lines in the trend chart. You have the trend red, green, and gray that end up down touching one of the trio lines, the yellow, pink, or blue line. And when trend gray is lowest, it usually results in a multi-day uptrend. And I think simply because it's lowest, it usually travels around zero, a little bit over or a little bit under, depending on the stock that you're in. But when it ends up lowest, and it doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, it's a great opportunity to pick up a uptrend based on those conditions, or excuse me, based on the conditions that you have. I've got about 6 examples that I'm going to show you in this particular situation. The vertical green line here in trend red is lowest. It's just gone under zero, and you have some supporting evidence that you have a trend green down touching the pink, which means next day it's going to be up. The one thing that I want you to watch as we go through these 6 examples is that the power yellow line in this case is above the above power orange, and normally it works out best when the power yellow is under the orange. But in this case here we're basically moving slightly in an uptrend. Power orange and green are going up and above zero. The trend trio, blue, pink, and yellow, excuse me, yellow are above zero. And the swing red and green over here, red is above zero and green looks like it's right on zero. In this particular case, also you have a red spike. Zip red is going down and it is under 50. Zip yellow is down and it's above 50, which is the basic definition for a red spike. And so we know next day it's going to go up. In this particular case, you also want to recognize that when the yellow line goes out from the pink line, as the power pink is dropping, that usually is a period of stagnation in price. And that's exactly what you have for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, all the way over to where the trend red down touches the zero line right here. And then it goes up again. On the second example, we have trend red coming through, and this is the only example I have where trend red does not go up, and I'll show you why. Obviously, there's some key elements to seeing what's going on. We can quite readily identify trend trio is in a long downtrend, and of course, our yellow line again is above zero, but it's going down, and that is indicative of a flat price movement until you get the strong angle down. And then of course when yellow goes under orange, it usually has a faster downtrend. In this case here, the last couple of those candles are flat, as is the power yellow line. And if you look over in the zip chart, your zip green is at 100. And so that should be a real key for you because it's, it would have to stay at 100 all the time. And we can see that, like in the price chart, we've got what we refer to as a crank handle. It's flat, it goes up, and then it goes across. And typically those will go in the, those will react, but it depends on the supporting evidence that you have around you as to which way it goes. Obviously with a crank handle, we'll see a crank handle. It's like you stick one of those hexagon metal bars in an old jack and you crank it up. That's kind of what I was thinking when I first saw those years ago. but the price red and green are in what I refer to as a crank handle. And again, depending on the supporting evidence that you have with it, then you can identify that something's going to happen. And in this case, with zip green at 100, it's real likely that things are going to go down. And obviously, we've got swing Zion going down all the time. We can tell that. We got a low angle top in swing. I said that wrong. Swing gray is going down all the time, and in swing Zion we have a low angle top right here, and that's very indicative of a next day down. So this one, even though we have trend gray lowest, it's not good, because normally you'll have the yellow line underneath the orange line, and you oftentimes will have the trio going up, not down. And this is the case with the next four that I have. And this one here, the yellow line is down. We get 2 nice days up. A third day is even, the fourth day is down, and then the fifth day is higher than all the rest of the days. So if you hung on to it onto the fifth day, you would have had a real nice return. But it's hard to do that when you, on the third day, you're getting that deep red candle. So that's that particular example. And this next one, again, here's one of the best ones, a very typical, great example. Trend gray goes down underneath trend blue, because blue is under, the trio is under 0, so blue is the bottom line. And of course, your yellow line is underneath your orange line, so that's indicative of a great opportunity for several days up. In this case, it only went up actually a third day with a real tall upper tail, but the close ended up real near the second day's high, or second day's close. The next one has trend gray, again down under 0, and the yellow line is under 0, under power orange. And then in this case here, we have a 4-day, this fourth one obviously is a really big day up, and it just is part of that. I don't know why it happens, but when trend gray is lowest, and of course I always watch the power yellow line, and I verify that, see what's going on with the other 2 lines, the other two 3 charts, and just verify what's happening. But in this case here, you have 4 nice days up. The last one I've got here is trend gray down. Again, the yellow is just passing underneath it. And you also have, in the zip chart over here, you have swing Zion highest and going down. And we all know that that's a downtrend example, or situation, I should say. And so what we have here, when it opens up, it looks worse than it is, but when you look at it like this would be the open that you would buy the next morning, and typically following the green candle theory, you would, your green candle is going to open, go down, and then when you find the bottom on a 1 or 2 minute chart, you would then buy the bottom, and it would go up that day. And then of course you could hang on to it for, in this case here, it looks like for about 6 days it would go up. So again, I am not certain. I guess we just haven't researched it enough to tell you that, tell you why the trend gray usually produces, trend gray lowest usually produces several days of going up. And these examples that I gave you are just barely underneath the 0 line or the blue line. And it's like one of those examples that I talk about where the nose pops out, like zip green pops out underneath all the other lines, or zip, or the zip yellow, or or maybe power yellow pops its nose out over the top of everything else. It usually goes right back down, and there are many examples like that. But there are other great examples with zip